Hello everyone, welcome to EduRev. So by far, the most important element of your entire verbal preparation is reading comprehension. So we have covered its introduction, techniques and strategies in this course. RC is an important part of the CAT exam. A testimony to this fact is that each year the number of questions that come from this area amounts to around 50 to 60%, which is equal to 24 questions. And that, as a staggering fact, should tell you how important the topic has become. What is the good part? The good part is that we have done and seen these questions during our school days. So, what's the difference then? It is the paradigm shift. Gone are the days that you used to solve direct question. Today, it is more of inference-based questions. The focus is on the structure and thought. You'll have to assess the tone and style of the author. So, RC is equal to critical thinking. What is so challenging about RC? It is the wide area from where the topics are going to come. It can come from science, business, literature, music, philosophy, humanities, social science, and the list is endless. So, when the list is endless, the conceptualization and understanding of each of these RCs will become a challenge. So, what all we have covered? What is reading comprehension? What are the major challenges of RC? What kind of questions are asked and how to approach these questions? What are the different traps you should be avoiding? Reading Comprehension Analysis 2009 to 2019 and CAT RC topics based on last 10 years. I am confident by the end of this course, you'll become familiar with these questions and also have a good understanding on how to solve these questions. Let's begin with the techniques and strategies to ace the reading comprehension part. With around 60% of the coverage of questions, this section is most important to understand in order to get high scores. So moving on to what is reading comprehension? Reading comprehension is the ability to read text, process it and understand its meaning. It's not just about skimming through the passage. When I say skimming, I simply mean quickly running through all the contents of the passage. It's never going to give you anything out of it. So, you don't have to skim through the passage. There is no shortcut to reading. And RC focuses on the below skills of the test taker, the first being reading speed. Each RC will have 4 to 6 questions and you don't have more than 45 to 50 seconds to solve each question. So reading speed is phenomenally important. Second is comprehension ability. That is, how much do you understand the content and remember it without going back. The third is the ability to concentrate on diverse unrelated areas. Here, concentration is equal to effective understanding. The fourth and fifth being ability to summarize and ability to understand the overall context. Context is important in terms of emphasizing the need for a phrase or a word. So here we are talking about emphasis. So what are the major challenges of RC? Many students come across these challenges, and the first being slow reading speed. So how do you improve your reading speed? You can improve it by reading more and solve 2 to 3 RCs in a day. Some students say that passages are too complex. The best way to reduce the complexity is to break the whole RC into smaller parts. Example, if you have 5 long paragraphs, break and put small parts to it like introduction, usage, or let's say example, or anything the paragraph represents. Instill a habit to write one-line summaries for each para you read. The third challenge is lack of familiarity with the topic. As mentioned earlier, RC can come from a wide range of topics. So you need to read different content. You can divide your 5 days of your week to 5 different topics. And you can read. The last being answer choices are very close. The only way to address this is a concern through comprehension, thorough reading, reasoning, and logical evaluation. You need to comprehend it right, and you can zero to the right answer. Moving on to what are the major challenges of RC? Many students come across these challenges, and first being slow reading speed. How do you improve your reading speed? You can improve it by reading more and by solving 2 to 3 RCs in a day. Some students say passages are too complex. The best way to reduce the complexity is by breaking the whole RC into smaller parts. Let's say you have a passage which has 5 long paras, and you can break it and put smaller part to it like introduction, let's say usage, or examples, or whatever the passage represent. You should also instill a habit to write one-line summaries for each para you read. The third is lack of familiarity with the topic. As mentioned earlier, the RCs can come from a wide range of topics. So you need to read different content. You can divide your 5 days of the week to 5 different topics, and you can read. The fourth and last being answer choices are very close. The only way to address this is a concern the fourth and last being answer choices are very close. So the only way to address this is through comprehension, thorough reading, reasoning, and logical evaluation. Comprehend it right. You need to comprehend it right, and you can zero down to the answer choice. Now, what kind of questions are asked? How to approach these questions? First is main idea or central theme of the passage. It is the crux of the passage. Every passage has a main idea and supporting details. So you'll have to understand the main idea of the passage. Second is inference-based question. What does the passage imply or author imply, or simply the implied idea of the passage? Implied means that these are not stated in the passage. So you'll have to understand what they are trying to say. Third is fact-based questions. Fact-based questions require fact-based answers and which has to be verified by looking at the context of the passage. Fourth is contextual vocabulary-based questions. For example, the questions may be which word means what. So you'll have to understand the word and the context in which the word is said. Fifth is assumption and argument based questions that the author is taking to support his ideas. These questions are new to CAT. The questions that ask you the assumption behind author's idea, explain the argument or thought process. So if the author has given any conclusion, the question might be you'll have to understand the assumption behind the conclusion given by the author. Opinion-based questions. These questions have no right answers. So, these questions are based on personal conviction. Next is paraphrase the given line based questions. You have to understand the meaning of the underlined phrase. This will also be context based. Tone based questions and style based questions are explained in detail further. So let's understand tone identification in RC. These type of questions have become one of the most asked questions. One from the vocab standpoint and other from understanding the author's attitude. The tone of any passage is the author's emotion or feeling, usually towards his subject. Like, how is he feeling? Happy or sad or excited? Once you are able to understand the emotion, you will be able to understand the tone of the passage. The best way to identify the tone of a passage is to examine certain words with positive or negative connotations. For example, let's say I write, I hardly meet you. So this is a negative connotation, as it just means I don't meet you. Or I say I always meet you. This has a positive connotation. Let's just do a question. Fortunately, these brilliant scientists were able to combine their wits and begin formulating promising solutions. I'll give you 10 seconds to identify the tone here. So the words fortunately, brilliant, promising. These words represent happy emotion, or you can say they are appreciative. So the tone can be reverent here, which means respectful. Or you can also say optimistic. So, once you are able to identify the emotion, you will be able to identify the tone. You should have a good vocabulary. If you don't have a good vocabulary, then even if you understand that the tone is happy or sad, you might not be able to choose the right set of words. So the most commonly used tones are critical, that is criticizing, biased or single way of addressing, sarcastic, that is undertone to what you are saying, caustic, harsh or bitter, that is rude, vitriolic, that is angry, objective, to the point, laudatory, that is appreciation, cynical, that is doubtful and negative, pessimistic, we all know, who looks at the negative side, reverent, we have done earlier, that is respectful, vindictive is revenge, satire is wit to talk about situations, sardonic is grim, ironic, that is something that is contradictory to what is supposed to happen, indignant is angry because of injustice, didactic is involved in instructions of teaching, apologetic, that is expressing or showing regretful acknowledgement for an offense or failure, belligerent, that is hostile and aggressive, biased, we know unfairly prejudiced for or against someone or something, commiserating, that is sympathize, condescending, that is showing an attitude of patronizing superiority, contemptuous is showing disrespect, euphemistic is being polite nature, introspective is inward looking, provocative is tending to stir up conflict, motivating, we all know, impelling an action, and speculative, it is based on hypothetical thinking rather than knowledge. So, the second part is style identification of RC. How does style differs from tones? The tones talk about emotional level and style talk about the way of writing. The tone of any given passage is the author's way of presenting his idea. In other words, it's the author's writing technique that represents the way of writing. I have mentioned 4 authors and I hope that you have heard about them. If I have to analyze the way these people write, I'll say Chetan Bhagat is a colloquial writer, which means he is friendly writer. The tone or style we use with our friends, which is very informal. On the other hand, the tone of Shobha De is very sarcastic. Aurobindo Ghosh has a descriptive style of writing. Thomas Friedman, a famous economist, has a very analytical way of writing. So the typical styles are narrative, that is storytelling, descriptive, that is long-winded or essay types, analytical, we all know, is analysis, instructive is persuasive, and argumentative, that is comparison or challenging the accepted beliefs. So the idea is to give you these commonly used tones and styles is because you will see a lot of these tones coming in the actual tests, and knowing what each of them means is really going to help you understand the real emotion of the author. Now, what are the different traps you should be avoiding? There are certain traps that cat throws at you every year. If you are aware of these traps, you'll be able to sail through these questions. For example, avoid anything that is too generic and has a very vague reference to the passage. Although it might convey the same idea but has no reference or vague reference to the passage is a trap. Avoid anything that is too far-fetched or anything whose chances of happening is very difficult. When I say too far-fetched, you might talk about a topic, let's say on India and Pakistan peace treaty. And the whole passage talks about the fact that peace is the way to bilateral talks and peace is the way to solve their problems. And there could be one option which says that if peace, let's say, doesn't happen, then India and Pakistan go on the verge of warfare. Now, this might happen since the topic at hand was peace treaty and bilateral relationships, but this becomes a far-fetched option and therefore has to be avoided. Avoid unknowns. Is there anything that is unknown from the point of passage? Now, it has to be avoided or eliminated. You cannot have anything which is unknown and use it in the answers. Now, avoid any sentence that focuses on one part of the passage, but the overall answer needs a more logical approach. You might have an option wherein the idea stated is there in the passage. Let's say you have two options. One talks about the idea from the passage, which is correct, and second tells about the overall idea. Here we were talking about passage, and here we are talking about overall. So whenever you are selecting, never choose the first option. You don't have to choose the first option, and you'll always have to choose the second option. Your answer should always have a logical approach rather than focusing on one single specific idea from the passage. So, we have done the Reading Comprehension Analysis 2009-2019. Long Passage 1 was usually moderate based on facts. Long Passage 2 was moderate to difficult with rich vocabulary, more literary and opinion-based questions. Long Passage 3 was difficult based on abstract topic, opinion-based, literature-based, and may contain difficult vocabulary words. Short Passage 1 was moderate to difficult and topics were related to business, economy, geography based. Short Passage 2 sometimes difficult with difficult words and was based on historical facts, opinions and future plans. Short Passage 3 may be more difficult than two other, usually on abstract topics. CAT RC topics based on last 10 years included natural science topics like coral reefs, blue whale, Aristotle, or let's say river basins, mountain ranges, photosynthesis, greenhouse effect, global warming, carbon credits, and you can all see it on the screen. Now, what all topics were covered in social sciences? It was Indus Valley, World War II, Inca Valley, literature history, Korean War, India versus China, history of Earth, and so on. I hope this detailed discussion around RC has given you good confidence and understanding in terms of what kind of questions you will address. And I firmly believe if you follow what we have prescribed in the lectures, it will really help you in increasing the efficiency as well as accuracy in answering the questions. Till then, you can go to our app or website for detailed notes, more videos, and topic wise tests to understand the topic in depth. You can also unlock all the log videos, documents, and tests of CAT with EduRev Infinity Pack to ace your exam at less than rupees 80 per month. Thank you all. See you in the next lecture where we will be covering the practice questions.